Hi, I'm Auden. Today I wanted to talk about aniline, semi-aniline, pigmented, and corrected grain leather. I have updated thoughts on all of that. I have a lot of notes today, so I'm going to be looking down. I think about leather as having like two main categories, chrome tan and veg tan. That has to do with the two main ways leather gets tanned. When you're talking about leather, there is like the part of the animal skin that you're referring to, and that is the full grain, then the top grain, and the split grain. I'm more interested in the aniline, semi-aniline, the pigmented, and the corrected grains. Those four words are important. They provide a lot of information about the characteristics of the leather that I'm buying, and how it'll probably look, and if it will patina. This video doesn't talk about the tanning process at all. I'm not really interested in the tanning process like right now. I mean, I would love to learn more, but this information I've picked up to make shopping online easier for myself. I'm buying upholstery chrome tan leather or chap or garment leather because that's what I like to sew. Aniline leather is a chemical treatment. Apparently in the United States where I live, aniline, the chemical, isn't used anymore, but I buy leather labeled aniline and I receive leather that has certain characteristics that I associate with the word aniline. So it's a useful word for me. So aniline is not a pigment. It is a water-soluble dye. And this distinction matters because of the way it goes into the leather. So this is like a bag I made out of aniline leather. You can kind of see the patina going on the back already. Okay, so the way it goes on to the leather, this dye, it doesn't conceal the natural imperfections that are already present on the leather. So like anything the animal went through in its life. So the patina is when the scratches and the marks like will show up fast and they look nice, in my opinion. You know, like if you're carrying the bag, like, and that's where the design of the bag can like lend itself to like, this is a bag that's gonna look nice with patina, but like if you have an evening bag, you might not want a patina on that bag. Just depends on the design. But like this is a slouchy everyday bag and it looks kind of good. You know, I have like a scratch going there. And the scratches on this are nice, like because you can like, I mean, I think I can buff them out. Maybe not that one might be deep. You can buff them out. Semi-aniline is our next category. That's this one. These are all from Hide House. This one is Hide House Aniline in British Tan. This one is Hide House Butterball in white. Speaking of evening bag. Semi-aniline is the most difficult category for me. It's an aniline dye. It has a top layer that protects the leather. I am unclear. I think there is a small amount of pigment involved in addition to the dye with semi-aniline. This may or may not be incorrect. Semi-aniline is a little harder to scratch because this is all about how the leather behaves, right? Like it doesn't really matter to me like how we arrived here, but it's like, how is this gonna behave when I order it? It's a little harder to scratch, but it still like looks okay when it does get scratched. Like this bag's been carried, like it has like some stains going on and stuff. It depends on like the leather, like the particular, how they did it, if it will buff out or not. And I think the semi-aniline category can be tough because there is so much variation in how they did it and how it behaves. So just order a sample. I like I like all leather really. So just order a sample, see what you think, how you feel. In the pigmented leather category, pigmented leathers have a layer of pigment on them. pigment can get scratched off because it's like sitting on top. I think it also provides the protective layer. I'm unclear if there's an additional layer on top of the pigment. It probably depends on like what the tannery decided to do. It doesn't patina because of the layer. That could be a good thing or a bad thing, like depending on what you're trying to do. It is harder to scratch, and then when it does scratch, it's like you're stuck with a big scratch because there's nothing to be done about it. You could probably paint it again, right? Corrected grain is sort of a separate category to aniline, semi-aniline, and pigmented because it refers to sanding the surface of the hide to like get the imperfections out. Then after it's been sanded, the leather can be embossed. My understanding, I don't know if this is 100% right, but my understanding is that the corrected grain term refers just to the sanding and not to the embossing. But when I hear corrected grain, I'm thinking sand and emboss. Like I don't think of those two things separately in my head when I am shopping for leather. My understanding is that full grain leather, so that like top part of the hide, is not called full grain if it has been corrected. It's called corrected grain, but then you have top grain, right? And that's the next layer. So I'm unclear on if they sand it to get to the top grain or if they cut it to get to the top grain. We need a tanner to make a really good video on chrome tan upholstery leather to clear that up. But I think top grain is still called top grain if it has been corrected. And this is where we just have to decide as consumers if it bothers us if our top grain leather has been corrected. Talk to the person selling you the leather. When I see pigmented leather, I'm thinking that it's been corrected. But it's not a synonym for corrected. In my experience, it seems common that pigmented leathers have been corrected, but it's not required. I thought it would be helpful to go through like some misconceptions that I had in buying leather, and honestly those misconceptions are like what inspired me to make this video. So let's see, something that confused me at first about aniline leather, I thought all aniline was full grain leather and it had to be the best quality, and that's not the case because aniline is a dye. Full grain doesn't always mean the best quality, but it's a word that's a clue that I might be looking at a really quality hide and I need to check the grade with the vendor. Leather grades are individual to each tannery and retailer. So I just, I'm aware of that and I'm careful and I talk to them like what are you using to evaluate them? What kinds of things do you sell? And in the end, if it's like a price point that I'm comfortable with, and I like it, then that's how I evaluate what I buy. I am not like super picky at this point. I hope that this was helpful to someone, and thank you for watching.